This week I'm going to take a look at using the Blue Letter Bible. I've done so in the past, and I'm going to dig deeper into it this week. Also, the power of bringing notes from outside the Gospel Library, which I have talked about in the past, and linking, which I haven't talked about. And then I'm going to talk about using a tablet. In fact, that's what I'm going to start with. So let's get started with Doctrine and Covenants 129 through 143. Welcome back to the Covenant Path special edition of Come Follow Me, where we explore meaningful ways of bringing the gospel into our lives through scripture study using the Gospel Library. It is my hope you will learn each week at least one thing that changes how you study the scriptures. Okay, what we're going to do, first of all, I said I'm going to talk about using an iPad. Now, I do understand, and I know from the stats of the church, the analytics that I can take a look at, that a small percentage of members of the church use an iPad. And I've said this in the past, I wish I could encourage more people to do so if it fits within your budget. I find it a delight. And the reason is because I can take it with me. Now today I had to wait for my wife. She was in a meeting after church was over, and I had my mini iPad with me, and I was able to do all the things I can do on my large one here. And it's a delight to use. It's such a blessing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over here to the iPad. You can see here that I have the scriptures open. I've got my personal study notes here, but I have this right here. It's the Blue Letter Bible, which I'm going to get into a little bit later, and which I've introduced in the past, but we're going to take some different looks at that. But I have it as a slide over, so I can simply take it and swipe it over, and then there's an arrow right here, and I can always bring it back. And you can have as many slide overs as you want. Now, you may ask, well, if I have an iPad, how can I exactly create a slide over? Well, here it says exit slide over, but if it wasn't a slide over, it would say slide over. And then you can have as many slide overs as you want. And so here, I had my scriptures open, and then my notes, and I also wanted to have the Blue Letter Bible available. Okay, now the other thing is I'm here in Jacob chapter 3, and I don't want that, and I'm going to review real quick how do we do a search, because I've got to get to Doctrine and Covenants D129. That's all I type in, and right here, Doctrine and Covenants 129. So I'm going to click on that, and that takes me right there to Doctrine and Covenants 29, where I want to start. Okay, that's a quick lesson on using the tablet. By the way, if there's any with my audience here that you would really like one-on-one help in using a tablet, that you've got one and you want to know how to do these wonderful things that you can do on a tablet, then obviously I want to encourage you to contact me. It's in the show notes. Contact me and ask for some just private one-on-one instructions. That's what I do. And not just the iPad, but if you want one-on-one instruction on using the Gospel Library. And so I can help you with that. Now, the thing about a tablet, and I guess I need to move back to that for just a minute. I don't look for the phone being my study. To me, the phone, the Gospel Library on the phone, is for when I'm out and running about. Yeah, I've mentioned it many times before. When I go to church, I take my mini iPad instead of a big one. But there are some men in my priesthood meeting that have the large iPad. They like to bring that. So, but I just want to mention you can also use the Gospel Library on your computer screen. And I've shown how to do that. You just go to church website, and right there at the top, you've got some choices. I know you'll be able to figure it out. It's quite easy. And you'll see scriptures. And then you can do just about everything that you can do here on the iPad or your phone. So, okay. Let's get to 129, and I want to come down to verse 3. And it says here, secondly, the spirits of just men made perfect, they who are not resurrected but inherit the same glory. Well, what does just mean, and what does perfect mean? Well, I'm going to go over here to my slide over, and I'm going to click here because I want to get to let's see, here it says just So 3a right here, okay. 3b, it talks about Genesis. So I'm going to go to Genesis 6:9. I click up here and just go to Genesis 6:9. And by the way, this is the Blue Letter Bible. It's available on all devices. It's really an excellent resource if you want to look at what the Hebrew meanings are or the Greek meanings. And so now I'm going to come down here. I'm looking for the word just, and that should be in Genesis 6:9. So I'm going to scroll down here to 6:9, and there it is. And I'm just going to tap on it. Let's see, is that it? Behold, I establish my covenant with you. No. Just men. I'm going to tap on that. Here we go. Yeah, Genesis 6:9. Why am I not seeing it? Genesis 6:9. Okay. These are the generations of Noah, who was a just and perfect man. I want to look at perfect. Genesis. I'm in Genesis. Oops, I'm not. Okay. I'm in Genesis, but I reversed my numbers. I'm dyslexic. Forgive me. Okay, so let's try this again. 6. And let's go to 9. Here we go. And it's going to work here. Okay, here it goes. And so these are the generations of Noah. And I just click anywhere on that verse. And I look for the concordance. And by the way, there's Bible comparison. You can play around with these and text commentaries and even audio and videos and dictionaries. But I just want to go right here. And I just simply want to scroll down here until I see the word just. Okay. And I'm going to click right in here. And this gives you the Hebrew. This gives you the Hebrew. It pronounces it for you if you want to hear how it's pronounced. It tells you the part of speech. The etymology in Hebrew would take me back to Hebrew 66, 63. And you click on that, it would take you to that. But I just want to come down here and I want to see. Just means just, lawful, righteous, correct, lawful. And if I come down further, it says that the word righteous is used in that situation 162 times. Righteous, yep. And then just is used 42 times, a righteous man 1 time, and so forth. And then you come down further, and it will give you all the verses where that word is being used, so you can take a look on how it's being used in context. And I've shown this in the past, so I'm not going to do it here. But here I could just simply copy and paste this into the Gospel Library and hook it right into this note here. And so I could come over here and just highlight this word just. To help if I could get the whole word. There we go. And tap on note and paste it in. You know how to do that. Okay, what about perfect? Well, let's go down further. I'm going to tap on this arrow here and go down to perfect. Complete, whole, entire, or sound. And if we were to look this up in Greek, it has the same meaning. When we are told to become perfect, it's not the way we think of being perfect. It's becoming complete, whole, a sound. And so here again, we've got several meanings. Come down further, without blemish. Okay, how many times it's been used, Strong's definition. To see figuratively and morally, literally, without blemish, full, perfect, sincere, and so on. And so that's bringing in the Blue Letter Bible here, just with those 2 words. Now I'm going to take my notes here, and I'm going to get that. And then I want to get this over here, and I want it to fill the whole page. There we go. All right, and I'm just going to slide this over so it gets out of the way. Okay, let's look at 130. And let's see, it's 130 verses 8 and 18. So let's go down to 8. And this place where God resides is a great Urim and Thummim. And again, if you click on these, and it's going to say, do you want the highlight or the footnote? And I want the footnote. Uh, use the topical guide. It's such a wonderful, wonderful resource. And if I click on that, this is what it looks like. It'll take me right here and provide me scriptures and where this word is used. And so I'm going to bring up the slide over again. And it went away because I enlarged this, but I'm just going to bring it up here. There we go. And I'm going to go into, let's see if I can read the scripture correctly this time. I'm going to go into Exodus 28:30, not 30:28. Okay. Okay. Well, that was Exodus. Okay, so Exodus, and I want to go to 28 and come down to 30. And as we come down further here, 29, and there's 30. And here it mentions Urim and Thummim. Tap on that. And I'm going to go to the concordance. Okay. And it defines what it is here. And of course, this is all in the Hebrew. And then I'm going to come down where it says Urim and tap on that. It says lights. A stone kept in a pouch on the high priest's breastplate, used in determining God's decisions in certain questions and issues. All right, now I'm going to tap on this arrow up here, come down further to Thummim. And again, I would copy and paste these things and move them over into the gospel library by highlighting that in section 130. And again, a stone provided for means of achieving a sacred lot, used with the Urim, and it down here. Okay, and so we've got the meaning of here. It means perfection. Stones provided for the means of achieving a sacred lot. All right, and so that is using the Blue Letter Bible with that. And then I'm going to come back here and get right back to where I was. And also I want to go down to verse 18, and I'm going to slide this over in case we want to get to it again. And verse 18, it says, and whatever principles of intelligence we attain in this life, it will rise with us in the resurrection. Well, here's my note to it. And my note is from Elder Bednar's book, Increase in Learning. And by the way, if you haven't read the trilogy that this is part of, each book is only, I believe, 4 chapters. And it has videos inside. If you get the audio edition, it's got videos inside. Or in the printed version, I believe it's got links there that you can watch videos where he discusses these further, which an audience. And they are really good. I have learned so much. I have read and reread these books several times and have extensive notes on them. But here is one thing that I brought over. Please note that in order in which knowledge and intelligence are listed in verse 19, with knowledge first and intelligence second. And also consider the parallel sequencing between knowledge and intelligence and the means by which they are acquired. And if a person gains more knowledge and intelligence in this life, through his diligence and obedience. Now, interestingly, knowledge is associated with diligence. There's knowledge, there's diligence. And intelligence is linked to obedience. Okay, and that's just a reminder to me of how knowledge, gaining knowledge and intelligence works. Now, obviously, I use digital books, and so it was very easy to copy and paste that. But if I like a hard copy of a book, a lot of people like the feel of a book in their hand. That's great. You could just record. You could go over to the Gospel Library, create a note, which I'll bring a note up here, and then I'll delete it. Note. Okay. Oops, I got a note there, and I don't want to use that note. Okay. So let me find, I'm going to take a verse up here because I don't want to. Okay, so here's a note, and here's a microphone, and I could just record. In fact, let's do that. And it's also up here on the keyboard. And now I'm showing how you can record. So you could be looking at the book and actually recording into here, and then hit the return and say, this is from Elder Bednar's book on learning. Can't remember the full title now. And so this is what you've got, and you turn this off, And you can save it and you give it a title. I recommend always giving titles because it's easier when you go search for your notes to know what the note is about. And then you just click on this or OK if you got an Android. But I'm going to delete it. OK. And so this is one of using notes. Now notice I also put down here intelligence, knowledge, learning, and parallel sequencing. Because I did not understand parallel sequencing until Elder Bednar introduced me to it. And then I began to understand the mother tongue English for me, which is always a struggle, and began to see other parallel sequences, not only in scriptures, but in writing. But those of you that English is just, you've got it mastered, you probably don't need to understand that, but I didn't know about it. Okay, so I have here a link. So these are links. Now, if I tap on a link for intelligence, this is what I've got for intelligence. And I've shown this before, but always have new people. And here, this is what I've got for knowledge. I got quite a bit on knowledge, don't I? And let's look at learning. Okay, and we've got more here. This talks about Richard G. Scott. I love that man. The Lord will not force you to learn. You must exercise your agency to authorize the Spirit to teach you, and so forth. All right, and I've got one more. How much do I have on parallel sequencing? Okay, examples of parallel sequencing, knowledge and intelligence, which we looked at. Okay, so that is the note there. And now I want to move over to section 131. And we're going to skip that because there's nothing in here I want to show you. But just remember, related content, there's a whole lot here. Okay? And let's go over to 32 now. 32, my goodness. We could spend weeks on 132, couldn't we? But as I've told you in the past, my podcast is not acting as a PhD in church history in section 132. I'm just a normal person, and I've got my notes here, as you can see. And here's some more notes. See, here's verse 19. This is about the marriage covenant. And I got this from God Will Prevail, Ancient Covenants, Modern Blessings, and the Gathering of Israel by Kerry Mulsney. Now, I've had him as a guest on my podcast, my audio podcast, and it probably is also, if memory serves me right, is on YouTube podcast. And I suggest you listen to Kerry Mulsney. He's a wonderful scholar within the church, and I learned a lot from him as I interview him. Okay, so here I brought in a note. And again, I was using a digital note to bring that over. But again, look at tags. I've got Marriage Eternal. I tap on that, and there's my notes on that. And now for some of you say, well, okay, how do you create a tag? Well, you just highlight something, and you tap on Tag. And if I tap on Tag, it's going to say, what tag do I want to add? And I could type in something that I don't already have. So I'm just going to type in sample. Maybe I already have one called sample. So I don't. So I type in sample. Okay. But if I go back, it'll show me every tag I've got starts with SAM or SA or just S. Okay. And I'm going to delete that. And you can create as many tags as you want within a selected text, as I have here. I've got 2 tags. You could have 15 if you want. All right, so let's look at these other tags here. Covenant, new and everlasting. And notice how I used a / and then new and everlasting. This is just my way to create sub tags. Now, you could use a space. It's easier to read when you've got something after the word. You could have an asterisk here, or maybe a hyphen, or maybe a greater than sign, okay, or less than, whatever's going to be meaningful for you, so that you can kind of see you're dividing that up into sections. All right, and the link, we got to go down to verse 38, 39, looking at my notes here, 38, 39, okay. This talks about David having many wives. Well, I created a link here because I remembered that it's also mentioned in Jacob. So if I tap on the link here that I created, and there it is. Behold, David and Solomon truly had many wives and concubines, which thing was abominable before me, saith the Lord. Oops. But over here it says that they received many wives and concubines. And let's see. For him, my servant and other prophets had the keys of power, and in none of these did he sin. Huh? But over here it says, okay. So this is where I have it, and there is a solution to this, obviously, but I want you to go ahead and take a look at it and understand it. But my point is here I created a link, so it makes it quite easy to get back and forth. Now, again, if I tap on where it says the scripture, it will take me here. And here is my note. Okay. And I said, it's important to realize that the law of plural marriage is not condemned, but David's and Solomon's handling of the law or their abuse of the law. Okay. Now I want to go back to where I was. I can click on this link, or I could go up to the three dots and just go back to history and do it that way, but I'm going to click here. And there I am back to, excuse me, back to Doctrine and Covenants 132. All right. That's it for this week. I hope that you've picked up some things. And again, I keep repeating things from week to week in hopes that some of it will start clicking. Sometimes I have to see or hear something 10 times before I go, oh my gosh, I mean I can do that? I didn't know that. So, but I'm sure the rest of you are much smarter than I am, and maybe you only need to see it once. And if so, bear with me and please have patience with me. But again, the aim is to show that the Gospel Library is a wonderful study tool. And maybe you want to have a hard copy of the scriptures and right next to it your iPad or your phone or your computer. And it's the app that the brethren want us to use. They are spending tremendous resources to have this app available, and it keeps improving. Is it perfect? No. But no app. I don't care what you use to study the scriptures with. I could easily go into it and find things that, oh, well, why doesn't it do this or why doesn't it do that? There is no perfect app out there. I don't care if it has to do with contacts or taking notes. For example, I love drafts. I really like drafts because it's where I go to just dump some things in, and then in drafts I can send it to other places. In fact, I'll give you a bonus for this week. So here is drafts, and whatever I put in, it doesn't matter. I can put in an address or whatever I want, and then I can send it over to messages. I can send it to Bear. I can send a card hop, which is where I keep my addresses. It's my contact app, and whatever app. There's all sorts of things that you can do with this. And so if I type in an address, for example, and then come over here and say, I want you to send that to card hop, it will automatically put the phone number here and the address here and the name here. And so this is a place, if I want somebody to give me their address and phone number, I give them my phone, and then I have them type it in, and then when I get home, I just let drafts do its magic. Okay, well, that is a little bonus for today, and I hope that it is something that maybe you might find useful. Drafts is only available for Apple users. Sorry, Android. But Android does have things that are similar to that. But I don't have my Android set up to show you. All right. That's it for this week. And again, I hope you'll have a very blessed week. But I must always end with my testimony. This is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This is the Church of the Restoration, the Church in the last days. And it's being led by a wonderful prophet, President Oaks, a man called of God, and we need to listen to him. And the apostles. These are men that have been provided to us to help guide us through these ending days. And I bear testimony of this. And of also Jesus is the Christ. He's our Redeemer, our Messiah, our all. And I say this in his holy name, Jesus Christ. Amen.